Chapter 1 of the book of Psalms lists two ways of living, the way of the righteous and the way of the wicked. And I'd like to focus on the way of the righteous laid out in verses 2 and 3 of Psalms chapter 1. It says, "Their delight is in the law of the Lord, and on his law they meditate day and night. They are like trees planted by streams of water, which yield their fruit in its season, and their leaves do not wither. In all they do, they prosper." Now, anywhere you see in the Bible it say the law of the Lord, it's usually talking about something quite specific. It's talking about the Torah, the law, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, the first 5 books of our Christian scriptures. We refer to it as the Pentateuch. That is the law of the Lord. So they delight in the law of the Lord. They take joy and comfort in studying Scripture. And on his law, they meditate day and night. That word meditate, in the different translations, it has the word ruminate instead. Now, as most of y'all probably are aware, I am the last person you would suspect to be a farmer or know much about anything that has to do with being outside. But I have a lot of friends that I grew up with that were farmers, and the way they all explained ruminate to me, rumination, is when a cow will bend down and chew up some grass and just chew on it for a little while, and then they swallow it down. But then, after a little while, they regurgitate it back up and chew on it a little bit longer. And then they swallow it back down. They bring it back up, chew on it a little bit longer. And that is how the righteous study Scripture. That's how they meditate on it day and night. They ruminate upon it. They'll take some Scripture, they'll take it, they'll think about it, and they'll swallow it, let it slowly digest within them. And then they'll bring it back up and think on it a little bit longer. Consider it a little bit longer. Well, what was the Scripture trying to tell me here? What does it mean to love my neighbor? Who is my neighbor? How do I love others as I love myself? These are just some examples of things in Scripture that we can ruminate upon and delight in the law of the Lord. So what's the benefit of ruminating upon Scripture in this way? Well, it tells us in verse 3, "They are like trees planted by streams of water, which yield their fruit in its season, and their leaves do not wither. In all that they do, they prosper." With a tree, it needs water to survive. And if there's no rain coming down, if there's a drought, it's not getting what it needs to survive. And it won't produce its fruit. It will wither away. But a tree that's planted next to the stream, its roots are reaching out underground to the streams of water. And even if everything around is dry, if it's going through a horrible drought season, it's still yielding fruit. Its leaves are not withering because it has a hidden source of life. And like that tree with its roots underground connected that hidden source of life, the stream of water, as we study Scripture and as we ruminate upon it and we bring it up through the day, we could be in the most horrible drought, a spiritual drought in our life, where we feel like, God, where are you in this situation? Where is the good in all of this? Ruminating upon Scripture, bringing up what we've studied, considering it and swallowing it again to digest it further. That keeps us connected to the hidden source of life within each and every one of us. May we all this week find that hidden source within us so that we too can ruminate upon the law of the Lord, ruminate upon the Scriptures, ruminate upon the wisdom that's been passed down all these years. so that we will be like those trees planted by a stream, never growing withered, never growing weary, but always full of love and full of life. Blessings this week.